Have our little music. There we go.
Hey, aloha. How you doing? Welcome to Hibachi Talk. I'm Gordo the Tekzar. I'm here with my good old buddy Andrew the
Aloha.
security guy.
How's everybody?
Happy Aloha Friday. Grab yourself a libation and towel and come out, sit down here. You can do that too, Beth. We got Beth tweeted out today on us. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate that.
All right.
So anyway, we're going to talk about some interesting things. We have Jeff Blom, president of Waimanalo Blooms, is going to be our guest today, and
Right
he's
on.
also been in the tech business quite a long time.
I think he's
Not as long as me.
He's bloomed many things.
He's bloomed many things. He has.
Right.
He's done a lot of really cool things in Hawaii and in this industry, and it's a good story. It's a good story that people can see what happens when you work hard. and
I made
put
up
your
a
mind to
word
it.
for him. I tweeted out our episode as techpreneurialism.
Yeah. Oh, techpreneurialism.
Yeah, that's what we're going to discuss.
Say that
It might
after-
be a new science. I don't know.
Yeah. Put that on.
He's
your,
a techpreneur.
After a few libations, I want to hear you see that.
Yeah.
Say that one again.
Right.
Anyways, it's been a fun week. We got a lot of stuff happening. A few things in the news we're going to talk about. You got your security minute and
Sure.
things like that. But let's talk about a couple things in the news this week.
What do we
You know,
got?
we got a couple exciting things in it. So Apple's third quarter results. Here we're going. Drum roll, everybody.
They
So,
make any money?
dominated by the iPhone. Surprise, surprise.
Okay.
Right? But here's what's an interesting thing, and we follow this stuff in business. Their iPad business continues to slide.
Think it's
And
because of these?
So, yeah, so we got this kind of stuff happening. And so that's what, and the phablets and all those kinds of things. So we've got some
Oh.
interesting conversation with some of our clients. We're saying, hey, we want to roll out a number of iPads. And you're going, really? Well, do you know that iPad sales are sliding? This may not be a product that could be around if it continues to be, in that gap space with Apple. So,
Interesting. I got, when I was in Chicago at Rowland, they actually gave us a mini for some of their training apps were built on it. So there's some companies that are adopting it while it, may be on the way in, the way out, who knows?
yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've rolled them out at hotels. We've rolled out a couple of thousand at local hotels,
Wow, for-
iPads. So they're still around, but it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. Other thing, looks like the AT&T DirecTV merger is still on the up and up. So
Think.
they think it's going to happen. The FCC chairman, Tom Wheeler, says positive things about it. So we'll see what happens in that one.
I wonder
That
who's-
will prove to be interesting.
I wonder who's going to win. Like, if
yeah.
it happens, I wonder who actually wins and who
Ooh,
loses.
it'll be an interesting shakedown. It's going to be interesting to see what, 3 to 5 years down the road, what comes from that. So it'll be an interesting one. So IBM, Big Blue out there doing their analytics and all kinds of stuff like that, but they still continue to slide. They're just not hitting it. So I don't know what we're going to see with these guys.
I think
but they're like
they're ahead of
Teflon.
the curve, though. They're ahead of the curve a bit. Everybody's still trying to figure out how to use metrics and how to get the metrics they need and make them valuable.
Yeah.
So at least they're generating them, right? So
Yeah, we'll
we
see.
need metrics to drive business. So
And
no doubt about it.
we get a lot of that asked about us, not from clients saying we want to do metrics, but it's just there's so many people are still so far behind, they're not at the point where they can do the analytics, the things you talk about with
Sure.
the security and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that's kind of in the other one. So now we're looking at, sticking in the Apple theme here. So 47.5 million iPhones were sold in the first quarter.
47.
7.5.
How's that? Did they have last quarter?
I
A year,
don't have
a year
that
ago?
with me, but just do the math at $500 a device.
Is that what they are?
Just go,
Gosh.
yeah, or that's
That's big money.
that's a gosh.
That's-
that's a golly gosh.
Yeah.
So and then they hired a former Chrysler executive. So Apple's hired a former Chrysler executive, and there's been lots of rumors and rumbling about the Apple's car. The
Oh, you think
driverless
that-
Apple
okay.
car.
Okay.
So you got Google in this driverless car. Now you got rumblings about whether Apple's going to come out with a driverless car.
And I know Elon Musk said that they'll all be driverless. He sees it coming.
He sees it coming. So that's happening. Another exciting trait. And this a sidebar story. There was a couple of guys on the news last week who had hacked into a Jeep Cherokee and took over
While the guy was driving?
While the guy was driving it,
Did you like
actually
that?
took over it and was driving it down the
Yeah.
street.
We talked about that earlier
Yeah,
this
we
year.
talked that
remember?
earlier. That was kind of an interesting one. And then we got to talk about Microsoft. So Microsoft, comes in with a 22.2 billion in revenue, right? 22.2 billion.
For the quarter?
This is for their cloud services.
Oh, just for cloud services.
It's coming in dominated by cloud services. But they had to take a $7.5 billion write-down on the Nokia deal, and they're still doing well. I'm thinking, okay, you do a $7.5 billion write-down and say, oh, that's okay. That's fine. We're just.
That's how
talking
big
about-
they are.
That's how big they are.
So, I think it just comes out of retained earnings. Is that the?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's where you-
Well, try to put a million and a billion. When I hear the government talking about $1 billion here and $1 million here, so like a million seconds, right? A million seconds is 12 days. So that
Okay.
gives you some, what's 1 billion seconds?
I have no idea.
32 years. So that
Oh,
that
yeah,
kind of
you're-
gives you, does that give you a kind of a correlation? Now, they talk trillions. I haven't even done that math yet. So
That must be like centuries or
who
something.
knows? It's just
That's
scary.
crazy.
And then we had another, it's like, we should have a new segment, Breach of the Week.
Oh.
'Cause
well,
it seems
we-
like there's
We
one-
need breach of the hour.
There's like one every time I turn around.
Yeah.
And so, so UCLA Health Systems, 4.5
Yeah, I saw that,
million
man.
patient records.
Saw that. Those are worth $50 a piece.
50 bucks
What's
a
that?
pop.
Yeah.
So do that math.
On the dark web.
In the dark web. So, so you got that happening. They're not real sure how. They're looking into it. The FBI's involved and so on. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see, what happens with that one.
Well, and I mean the liabilities for that. The healthcare, we're doing healthcare systems now, and it's concerning. There's I don't know how they're gonna keep up with the problems that they have. They're sort of like legacy, and they've all been waiting to spend money, right? Because this ACA stuff, they've been waiting on the litigation that got passed a few weeks ago, and so I just don't know how long it's going to take the effects of their investment, which is starting to flow out now, I think, to bolster them. But we're going to continue to see this forever. Nothing's secure. We've talked about
We
it.
talked about it over and over again. So, let's lead into that. Maybe since we talk about security. You got a security minute today?
I do have a security
Okay,
minute
give us a
today.
security minute
This
today.
is I brought up a blog that I wrote last year because there was just a lot more shootings again this week, active shooting incidents, several again, and this is an article I wrote, and it's called "There's a Hole in Your Wall," and it's called a doorway.
Yeah.
Right, and people don't really think about it as a hole because usually the door's shut.
Right.
And then it's locked when you're not there.
Right.
But during the business day, a lot of times it's just too inconvenient for people to unlock and lock the door again when they're going in and out of it. So they just leave it open. And I call that a risk. I call that a hole, and I call that a risk in security.
I thought this guy was going to get electrocuted when I saw that shot in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
So
just to add to that. So, I went into one place. We did a study, and they was looking at security, and they had the door and the security, and it was on a drywall wall, right there, large enough drywall on either side of the door that anyone could walk through. It was just drywall.
yeah.
I mean, so had it all secured and everything, but I could have just punched through that
Yeah, just
drywall
punch
and walked
through,
in.
just kick it in.
Yeah, that was it, and I was in.
Sure.
But they had this, this is our secure door. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go right through.
It's tough. I mean, these doors, it's real common for people to lose items. Thieves will step into an office if there's no one. They'll step in an open door. If no one's there, they'll look around and just take something and go. Art off the wall. There can be vandalism that can happen very quickly and be very costly to a business that no one's paying attention to. And obviously, the cyber guys are walking in saying, I'm a vendor. I'm working on the electrical system. I need to see the closet. And they're looking around for vulnerabilities. The social engineering types, right? So. The reason this occurred to me again because of the active shooter incidents. I want to talk about just some of the metrics of the events that the FBI looked at. 44 of those events occurred in areas that were open to pedestrians, and this is out of 73 between 2000 and 2013. 23 occurred in places that were closed to pedestrian traffic, and those shooters, among those, included current and former employees. And of those, 16 instances where the shooter targeted a current, estranged, or a former spouse or girlfriend. 42 people were killed and another 28 wounded while they were going after those 16 that they were angry with.
Wow.
So this is the problem with protecting your public and making sure you've got some way, something safe to keep the door shut. If you're not an open to the public business, and we've talked about this before, you need to protect your employees. So either lock the doors, get access control, put something on those doors to build a barrier between the unexpected guest or even the expected guest. That guy needs an intercom so you can talk to them and verify who they are before you let them in the door. But lock the doors, protect your staff. Because there's a hole in your wall.
There's a hole in your wall. So, I get a perfect example of that. There was one organization, we did a massive security system we put in, and disgruntled client got into the office, was harassing one of the female.
A client of the organization.
Of the organization
Wow.
was harassing
Sure.
a female worker, and everybody's going, well, wait, we have all this great security system. How did this person get in, and so on? So we go back, we look at the film, we bring up the digital film, and sure enough, this guy got off the elevator. Everything's all locked. An employee comes out. he talks to this employee, and the employee lets him in.
Probably recognized him,
So,
or knew
yeah,
him as a customer or
Or
something.
knew him as a customer, whatever, and just
Sure.
let him in. And it was a customer-free zone. There was supposed to be no customers in there anyway.
Sure, there you
And
go.
so here you go, and this guy let this person right in, right there. So the human factor once again comes into this thing
Yeah.
over and over again.
You definitely want to train your staff to challenge anyone. You have to have a way to identify people that belong, and then challenge people who don't have that type of identification on them. If you notice them on your premises, just escort them back to the reception area or the visitor area. Call whoever's supposed to be escorting them around. You don't have to be rude about it, but just ask them who their escort is. Hi, and introduce yourself.
Look at this
Be
way.
pleasant.
How many places now don't have receptionists?
Tons.
You go up, right?
Yeah.
And you hit the bell or a button or a buzzer, right? So they're already in. So they're not even outside a secure door. They're already in the facility, and there's no one at the front. And Hawaii's probably one of the worst for it because we're such an open and
We have an open culture, for
very
sure.
open culture here, and you can just walk practically into any office without an announcement. I mean, it's
And walk around the office and
Yeah.
pick up stuff and walk around. Walk
Say-
out of the
say
office.
hi,
And stuff goes missing all the time.
take food off the food tray. So they come into that. So so that kind of stuff's happening. So as we're talking about tech industry and just saying there's all kinds of neat stuff in here. Here's an interesting. Let's do got one tech job.
Okay.
So we got two today.
Oh, okay.
So we
Bring it
got we got two interesting ones on got one tech job. So this is one, me in Heights, right? This is a cool job. So got one tech job, and he's smiling. So
Oh.
little cable pulling going on here.
Wow.
So this is nice.
Right on the transformers.
Right
too.
on their bare feet.
Look at that.
Isn't that
He's
nice?
not going to live long.
No. Why men die before women? People keep asking me this. I think I know the
Wow.
reason.
You think he's stealing power probably or something?
Yeah.
Hooking into that circuit, trying to pull some power off of it or something?
Okay. Well, let's see another reason why men die before the women die. I mean, we got a pretty good reason to do this too. So look at this.
Oh. This guy's going to have a long day.
you got one tech job. I mean, this is classically wonderful. It's like, okay.
You think you can get enough air in that tire with that pump?
Yeah. How long is this going to take him?
I don't think it'll even, it's too much pressure. Like, obviously, we think that loader weighs 50 million tons.
That is just unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Got one tech job. So just again, as a reminder to all of you,
one.
this is really a great industry that we're in with all the challenges and problems we talk about. There are more opportunities here than there are in some of the other places. So with this, it's Lua time. I got to head down and
You want to get Angus?
We'll go get Angus.
All right.
I'll hit the Lua and then we'll be back in a minute.
Aloha.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on ThinkTech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
Aloha, my name is PJ and I'm the host of Hawaii Sports Update. I am very interested in local sports and that's why I host the Hawaii Sports Update show. I bring in guests from Hawaii, I bring in guests from UH, I bring in guests from the community, I bring in big names, I bring in small names, I bring in all names that are community related and doing positive things, sports related in the community. Come join me every Tuesday at 1 p.m. here on Hawaii Sports Update. You can also join me on my golf tournament, the first annual PJ Sports Radio Show golf tournament. It's going to be held at Coral Creek. For any information, go to ThinkTech Hawaii, INC, and friend us. The PayPal and a summary of the event will be right there available for you. And don't forget to tweet us.
Aloha, my name is Miley Scarpino and I'm the host of the Empower Hour. If you're interested in health, nutrition, fitness, here on the island of Oahu, want to learn more about places to train at or different trainers available, then watch my show on Fridays at 3. We have a great time and I hope that you'll come join us. Much aloha. Now go get swole.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. That's Ted Ralston. You know, Ted is the host of Where the Road Leads. It shows every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. It's about technology. It's about how people collaborating and solve problems with modern technology. It's where the road leads. We all know that. We should all be listening. Join us there, 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday. Now, what about that do you agree with?
All of it.
I knew he'd say that. Aloha. Say aloha.
Aloha.
Good.
Aloha, welcome back to Hibachi Talk. We got Angus Young in the house. Angus, what's up, buddy?
How you doing there, Drew?
Right.
Hey,
Very well. What's up, man?
Really good. Hey, a big hug out there, the best. Thank you so much, Dad, for tweeting us. We just love it. It's the best when they come online and tell us they're really watching us. Our followers are really getting up there, dude. I love it. I love it. Hey, anyway, you know, I was looking at some meetings the other day, and I was talking to a bunch of engineers. You know, and the engineers guys, they're the best out there, the software engineers and stuff like that. You know, most people believe things aren't broke, and so you don't fix it. Software engineers believe that if it ain't broke, it doesn't have enough features yet. So that's what's going on out there. That's how
Right on.
they're thinking. That's how they're thinking.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, lad. Anyway, you had a birthday this week, huh? Happy birthday,
I
lad.
did. Thank you very much.
Hey, Angus has some friends out there, you know. Hamish McGullible, his birthday was yesterday.
Ah, we're close then.
Yeah, fortunate for him, he's still alive, the old. But anyway, what's going on to the next thing? You know, my gadget of the week. Yeah, how you like getting up in the morning? I hate it. Just hate getting up in the morning. But you know,
Okay.
I found this really cool alarm clock. It's called Clocky. Clocky. It's Angus's gadget of the week. I love it. What it does is it's on your nightstand. And what happens when the alarm goes off, it jumps 3 feet in the air and then it runs around the house.
Come on.
Yeah, and then you gotta go chase it to turn it off.
turn it off.
So you gotta chase it while it's running all around the house, and it sounds like R2-D2 when it's running around there.
Nice.
And once you're up, you're up.
Is that how you stay so chipper?
Yeah, and I got no legs, so you imagine how easy it is for me.
You just crawl after it.
Anyway, that's really a cool gadget. You know, I think everyone should get one of those. You know, I see them on Amazon, so we'll check it out there. Anyway, that's my gadget for the week, and we're gonna we'll be checking out some more stuff in a few days. And again, thanks Beth for sending stuff into it. And then remember, everybody, let your wing gang free wherever you be. Aloha.
That's so awesome. We're gonna have to get one of those so when we need Angus to come up for his bit on the show, we don't have to keep running down to the beach to get him. That thing looked amazing. I wonder how it'd roll in the sand. All right, well, we're up next. We've got Jeff Bloom here from Waimanalo Blooms. Hawaii's great techpreneur, I think is what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Aloha, brother.
Aloha.
Welcome. Nice to have you.
Yeah, oh, nice shirt.
Thank you, Gordo. Thank you.
So nice to see you, Jeff. We've known each other for a fair number of years.
When you had hair, I remember you back then.
He had hair?
I had hair.
Come on.
And it was red, so I went to point that out too.
Wow.
So that's how long we go back. So you've been in the IT business for a long time and so on, but we like to get a little background on our guests and so on. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you start? Where'd you go to school? You know,
Where'd you grow up?
I can remember
Did
back
they have
that far.
electricity back then?
I know.
So where'd you go to school?
I went to, well, again, college, you're talking high
Oh,
school.
we
This is
want
Hawaii.
to go way back.
Yeah. Let's start with
I
high
went to school in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of Boston. And then I went to college, University of Miami.
Oh.
Did you grow up in Massachusetts or
I grew up in Boston.
the Northeast? Okay,
Yeah,
right on.
yeah, in Boston all my life. Yeah, right down Comm Ave.
Okay.
As you know, Boston.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you kind of have a Boston accent.
I've kind of lost
Is that
it.
what that is?
I've been
I
here
didn't know
for
what it was.
Yeah, he's kind of got that. He's got
Park the car in Harvard Yard.
Park
that
the
one.
car and have a car.
Yeah.
So then Miami.
Then Miami.
And then Miami.
Then California, then here.
What was your major?
Communications.
Okay.
Back then it was radio and TV. They didn't have computers when I went to college.
Okay. So anyway, we believe it or not, we got to take a short, quick, immediate break. We got a little something we got to take care of right now. So
Okay.
look in your face.
Okay.
Yeah, just relax. Anyway, we'll be
Wow.
we'll be back in just a sec. Got to pay a bill.
Aloha, my name is Jim Shon, and I'm host of a show called Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. Each week, live streaming at noon on ThinkTech Hawaii, we interview people who have special insights into education from early education through K-12, all the way through higher education and beyond. Both public and private are areas we're interested in. We dig deeper. We try to find out what it's really like to be involved in making change, advocating for it, how you reform, what people's philosophies are in reforming it. As I said, we're live streaming every Wednesday at noon on ThinkTech Hawaii. And later on, you can find these interviews on YouTube and on the Hawaii Educational Policy Center website. We hope you join us as many times as possible. Aloha.
Another Boston transplant.
Yeah, I see that.
Hey, aloha. Welcome back to Hibachi Talk. I'm Gordon with Tekzar. I'm here with Andrew, the security guy, and with our guest, Jeff Blom he's the president of Waimanalo Blooms, which is not a flower shop.
No.
So, and we'll talk a little bit about what you do. So when we left you, you were in Boston,
Yeah.
went to Miami,
Yeah.
studied communications, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then,
So broadcast? Like
Yeah.
media, print,
Yeah.
print and broadcast, I would think.
Well, actually, yeah, I got in the music business actually out of college.
right
So, and again, they didn't even have a music business career at that time. So the only thing you could do was journalism, radio, TV. That was it.
Wow.
But got in the music business and then moved to California, moved to San Francisco, then Hollywood. Then my sister, who had also gone to school in Miami, had moved to Hawaii, and I used to come here and visit her, and wind up buying a staffing company in '86.
so when did you move to Hawaii? Was it in, I thought it was
Full-time.
earlier than that.
No, I was coming back and forth,
Okay.
but I moved here full time in '86.
So
that's
you,
when I got here.
in '86, you started CTA.
No, I had bought the staffing company first,
First,
so it was
okay.
Select Staffing.
Oh,
and
okay.
then did the training company a year later in '87, and that was Computer Training Academy, which we changed to CTA Solutions, and then we merged everything, well, the staffing company underneath that. And then at that time, everything was an XT with two 5 1/4-inch floppy drives,
Yeah.
one for
Oh,
DOS, one for whatever, Multimate, or I didn't think we
Multimate.
didn't even have WordPerfect back then. Lotus 1, 2, 3. You know,
Multimate.
yeah. I mean, those were the apps.
I haven't heard
You had
that.
you had your OS on one floppy on one 5 1/4, and your data on the other 5 1/4.
I don't-
No
I don't-
networks, no internet, no.
Were you downtown here or were
Yeah,
you? Okay,
downtown,
because I
yeah.
remember when it was at Mapunapuna area.
Yeah, but that was
Oh,
much later. That was 10 years
Way later, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember the first, like, SQL class I had was
yeah
there.
probably. Yeah. But SQL was, yeah.
That was
people
in the
didn't- Yeah,
90s.
I was going
Oh,
to say
yeah,
that was probably late
mid-90s.
90s because we were downtown on actually Mililani Street. We had a couple places, a Lee Place, and a couple places downtown. Then just not large enough to grow with the classrooms and the other businesses we were growing over time. So we wound up moving out to the airport and then spent 10 years out there.
That
So it's
was
been about
good.
20
You had
years.
you had that
Had a
whole
huge
second
facility.
floor up there, I
I
think,
think
for a while.
20,000
Yeah,
square
it was
feet,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
20,000 square feet.
I had 11
Yeah.
classrooms at the end. We had
Yeah.
11 classrooms.
That
That
was
takes up a lot of
amazing.
space.
Right.
We had about 150 employees probably by the time we were done with it.
So that, there's again, we talk about Techpreneur, right? I mean, you had the vision when this stuff was coming out to say, we're gonna have to train people on how to use this technology. And you must have been we weren't the first to start this kind of, you were largest for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, first, who knows? But I mean, the thing is, I think, again, through those times, and it hasn't really changed today. Moore's Law is the same thing. Every 18 months, technology's going to reinvent itself. And I mean, we're doing things today that we didn't do a year and a half ago, and we didn't do 5 years,
Agreed.
So I mean,
Agreed.
people look at it and say, well, how did you do all that and all those changes all those years ago? It's happening all the time, I mean, we pick up mobile phones, you got apps right now, people doing stuff. We got all the cyber stuff that's going on right now, so everybody wants to, look at cyber
Learn that,
careers and all
sure.
of that. I mean,
They're big.
robotics a few years ago, so again, all the IT pieces of that. Before that, it was client server, the internet coming on. Before that, it was all, okay, we just got a couple computers, how do we even make them talk to each
How do
other?
we hook them up
We're going to
for
run
networking?
mail so
Yeah,
we
the
can mail
networking.
somebody in the next office, never mind mail someone in the next, county or the next, country. I mean, so through all those years, all those
Sure.
changes, but I think, again, with it is, the one thing I do like about technology is it's always challenging you because you can't just sit there and say, oh yeah, I'm just going to do what I've done for the last 20 years.
Sure.
I mean, and the good news is, opportunities for young people is, you don't have to say, oh gee, someone's been doing this for 30 years and I'm just learning it now, so I'm going to have 30 years career to catch up to them. You're learning something new today that people never did, like I say, 2 years ago, so you're
Good
not
point.
at a disadvantage where years ago, like when I got into like radio and TV. Okay, there were people who've been doing this their whole life, when you're a kid trying to come in and get an internship. Now it's like, so when we grew the company, we would look for young people that just wanted or had a passion for technology and wanted to learn. And it was like, no, you don't have to have all the skills because the skills aren't there because nobody had the internet
And we
before.
don't know what
Nobody had-
we don't know
Yeah,
what the next one is.
right.
And you used a great word there, and I use it all the time, passion, right?
Yeah,
If they have a passion for this
That's-
stuff, it's just going to open up the world to you.
Right. So I think the hard part, I think, for young people, when we hear this all the time, is how do we get started or how do we get some skills? Because it's always the chicken and the egg. All right, I need to get a job, but I don't have the skills. I can't get a job because I don't have the skills, but I can't get the skills if I don't get a job. Because realistically, a lot of times, the schools aren't going to give you the skills you need. Now, we've done a better job, I think, in the last 10 years of implementing programs like the robotics program, which have a lot of different skill sets, whether you're writing code, whether you're doing digital media, whether you're, even just sitting in front of people and communicating, all those things, so they give a good background. But to get the real world experience, and I learned this even coming out of school, when I went to the University of Miami, it was like, okay, you can learn radio and TV. Well, yeah, you can simulate it in a little classroom, but I got to go work for somebody, in a radio station or a TV station or whatever to learn the real trade. You don't get that because I went to school and now I got a degree, here it is, hire me because,
Yeah, you got to prove yourself.
Yeah, so I think today that's really the hardest part. And so to me, growing the company over those years was, okay, I had 3 people when we first started on the staffing company and even going into the training side. How do you find people who know Multimate or WordPerfect or, Lotus 1, 2, 3?
And then they can teach it.
Right, and then they can teach it, and new computers.
Right.
And why my customers were saying, we need someone who knows how to use these software programs because we don't have anybody, and we have one computer in our office, and we have to type a document so we can then fax it. I didn't have faxes back then. We can fax it to our corporate office on the mainland.
Right? Let's go print it off.
Right, and we'd have customers, large corporations in Hawaii who would have one computer in an office and it would sit there and no one knew how to use it and they would have to type a document to be able to send back to their corporate office or something. And they'd call me up and say, do you have anybody who knows how to use this software who can type the document?
And you used a sign-up sheet that was a piece of yellow paper that was taped on the wall and you'd book your time.
On the computer.
So there was none of this calendaring system. Then we go, Gordon's got it between 1 and 2. And if you weren't there at 1 o'clock, someone else took it. Your spot was gone.
Right. And that's how I got into the training side was because they keep calling me up owning a staffing company and say, okay, we need someone who can type X amount or whatever, but then also can they use a computer? Do they know how DOS?
Yeah, I was wondering if that was born from the staffing request
Well,
that you got.
so it came out of looking at an opportunity. So again, when you go back to the entrepreneur stuff, at that time it was like, wait a minute, no one's filling this void. Here it is, it's an opportunity. And then it was like, okay, I can buy some videos to teach people or have some, I don't remember years ago, they used to have these little strips of paper that you put on top of your computer and say, oh, F1 is help and F10 is
the one that ran across
little
the
cheat
top.
sheets.
Yeah,
But of course, Multimate was different than WordPerfect, it was different than Lotus 1, 2, 3, so you have to have all these little templates to put on your computer depending what program you're using.
And they came in a little folder, you could flip them up. Remember, they got even more sophisticated, you could flip them up. Oh, man.
So we started realizing that, you know what, the cheat sheets and the videos and all that stuff is not going to work. We need hands-on training, and that's where we started doing it, from the school, and then we were doing it for our customers as well as our staff. And then over time, the internet came in, all of a sudden we get emails, so now people want, and obviously at the time we were the first Microsoft solution providers in Hawaii, so we did a lot of both for the military as well as corporations and government here.
Training
on
like
NT
95
and
in the back
Exchange,
office
so all the, and then all the office tools.
Wow.
And then the back office grew, like you said, with SQL, and then SharePoint obviously about 10 years ago and how all that's grown. So early on, it was the same thing. Who's writing code? Who knows some of this stuff? Who knows networks? So finding a system engineer. Well, all that had to be developed from not finding someone with 30 years of skills because there wasn't anybody that had 30 years of skills because we didn't have client server up until, let's say, the year before.
Yeah,
right? So it wasn't like...
And you created it, right? You ended up creating, you sit here and think about that you sat there and you had the vision and you created it, and it's so easy to do business in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah.
And find people with skills. But again, a lot of it was, someone could come with you, years ago, we used to do a lot of Novell training early on too. There was a term in the industry that was called a paper CNE. A CNE was a certified network engineer that you got from Novell.
Okay, I remember that.
And then it was an MCNE, a master certified network engineer.
engineer.
So Novell got a really bad name because they would have people go to training, and it was a 5-day technical class. And on Friday, you would take the test, and you would pass, and you would get your CNE piece of paper. Well, then the industry and all the people in the industry would hire people and say, well, look, I'm a CNE. Here it is. I got my piece of paper. You can now manage my network. And then there was a huge pushback when they would hire people to manage their network that had a piece of paper that said they're certified, and they'd mess their whole network up. So a term came out called paper CNE. Wow. And so Microsoft changed things where they didn't do a test like that. You had to have real-world skills, and they even created an adaptive test.
I remember that.
Depending on, and I still use it to today, depending on how you answer the questions, some people takes them 2 hours to pass, if they can pass even. Some people can pass in 30 minutes. Because if you answer the questions and they get harder because they're adaptive questions, if you can't answer the question, they give you more in that set and then you're failed or whatever.
That's right.
They changed all that, and Microsoft changed the industry at that time to do that because there was such a pushback about what they called people who were papered. Well, I look at the universities and a lot of things, and I'm not blaming any university, it's national
but
or
that's-
international,
I know where
that a
you're
lot of
going.
people graduate, got a piece of paper and say, look, I graduated with a master's degree in,
Yeah.
coding and, whatever. And then we'd sit them down and say, okay, and, my guys who were writing code who would want to interview them would say, you've got some book learning, but you don't really know how to write
You
code.
don't know how
You've
to
got a
do it.
degree and it says you did this. You've got to go back to square one and learn.
And that's the opportunity, but that's the opportunity.
Yes.
You can say, okay, I got the book learning,
Right.
got the paper.
Right.
I can come out and start taking those courses.
Right.
And those, but then you've got to get the real world. I mean, when we interview, we don't have a test. We hand them a sheet of paper and we say, okay, we want you to configure this router or design this router.
Sure.
But here's what you do: draw it on the whiteboard.
Of course,
So
you gotta
now they've
whiteboard
got to
it.
draw. They've got to
Yep.
whiteboard it, right? So that
We
means
do the same
mentally
thing.
they have to know, well, what's
Right.
in this rack?
Yep.
What's in this shelf?
Right.
What's in here? What's here and here? And they've got to put this stuff all down. And it really, an experienced person
Right.
can do a good job on that. Someone that just has it in a book,
Can't.
they can't.
Usually can't. Or what we would do is we'd take a lot of students that we would have, and we'd even hire kids out of high school at the time and say, come in as an internship, and if we like them and they, again, had the passion, we can teach you. You don't have to go 4 years to go get a degree. Now, of course, the universities hate that when you say some of those things because they're making money on the people that they're graduating and paying for the.
sure.
But I want to say, okay, how many people have graduated out of your school, and I don't care what school it is, and where are they today? How much money are they making, and what are they doing? Not just that you took $200,000 for somebody who went to, an Ivy League school or whatever, and then they get out and they're getting a $15 an hour job because
Right.
they can't find a job because how many, whatever, and there's lots of
How
people with
many
degrees of
anthropologists
majors, right?
are-
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for bringing that up again.
But then you have a
Yeah.
different career, right?
Yeah.
So you graduate school,
Yeah.
an anthropology major, and you go, here's my degree, how
Yeah.
many, right?
They
How
said,
many anthropology
you can
majors?
teach or you can continue your education. I said,
Right.
back to technology.
Back to
Right.
technology,
Yeah.
going-
At
going
least
to
you can earn
technology.
a
Right.
living.
So a lot of that goes back to real world education. So to me, and a lot of things that we did is we hired a lot of people, whether interns, after school programs that we did with young students, especially in high school. My feeling was by the time you graduate middle school, either we've lost you or you kind of have an idea where you want to go. And so a lot of times they say,
think
oh,
it's
when we get
fair.
to college, we're going to get them and then get them on a program. I go, no.
Yeah.
So we would talk to kids even in middle school, and we used to bring a lot of professionals together who owned businesses, government folks or whatever, who were hiring, who were employers
Right.
on the technology field. This is back in the 90s, and we'd have some discussions. What does it take for someone who graduates school at that time? Do you need to know, what skill sets? Well, back then it's client server, some networking, whatever that
Right,
happens to be,
right.
a little bit about IP, I mean, whatever that is. But going through that, but then we're finding that the schools really weren't graduating students, whether it's high school or colleges, with those skills, and it's almost like it's on the industry, and so that's what a lot of us did
And
back
so,
then to grow.
and Beth tweeted up here, and she remembers you,
Oh.
so because she was running a recruiting firm
Oh,
at the time in town.
nice.
And so
She's
there you
another
were.
Boston transplant.
Another Boston transplant. So she remembers you from
Hey,
from those times.
I can't go many places in this town. It's a pretty small
So
town where
now-
people remember me, and I'm like,
No,
I
no.
have no clue. People say, I remember you from like 20 years ago. I was in your,
Wow.
In your
I was in
class.
your class, or I was in your office. You did work for us. Or
How many,
I didn't.
Do you have any idea how many people you cranked out of your? How many?
Yeah,
over
we
those
used to
years?
factor just on the training side alone, probably about 10,000 people a year.
Really?
10,000 a year in Hawaii.
And again, now you got to remember that's end user and that's technical. I had
that's-
11
the numbers-
classrooms. Right.
That's staggering.
I had 11 classrooms with 12 seats in each classroom, and again, some classes are a week long, some classes are only 1 day long. So
Right.
depending what it is. But
Right.
we used to run some numbers, and it'd be about 10,000 a year. Now, again, training's gone a little bit different because you can do things online now, other
Right.
things. But back then, you literally, especially on the technology stuff, you couldn't go and get the latest. You're going to do NT and Exchange and then
Oh, yeah.
SQL. All the
There
things
was
that
no
we did.
cloud-based
Right,
applications.
there was
You were no going
right.
in there and
no.
doing the
And
thing.
so you kind of had to, and again, we did a lot of business with the military and a lot of the DoD folks, as well as the large contractors of all those contracts, state and local, and then obviously the enterprise customers in Honolulu that were running, enterprise systems. So you think about the same thing, either that or they send them to the mainland for training.
That's
I mean,
right.
it wasn't like, again, here's a book, go figure it out, or go work on our production server at the bank, let's say,
Yeah,
or,
right.
or at like Pearl Harbor, and oh yeah, you'll just learn as you're doing the stuff in
Right.
production. That doesn't.
Now,
that-
is there
yeah, that
anyone in
doesn't
town
work.
that you know of that's got, servers and racks and network equipment and all set up, and they're actually doing that kind of training now? I can't
Yeah.
recall of anyone left.
Advanced computer training out in IAEA does. They do a lot of cyber work, and then PCAT at HCC.
yes.
Does he
TCAT
have
does some of
a
that.
demo environment like that?
I think Chad does. When I've been over there, they do
gotta get him
some
on.
of that.
Talk about that.
I had a lot of that because I had to. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how much there is today. When I've been up in his classrooms, there's not like what we had. We had racks because we would literally, I mean, we even used to do the A+.
Yeah,
You tear down
exactly.
computer. I had, rooms of
Right.
these computers. You
Yep.
tear it down and build
A+,
it back up. And the
Net
all the
Plus,
A+,
Security
right.
Plus,
The Security
Cloud
Plus was
Plus,
later,
sure.
yeah, later, but the A+ originally. So we had big racks even as you came into the hallway in our building where
Right.
the classes were. And, again, we would let people touch some of it, not the production pieces, but other stuff. Yeah, because if you're going to do Cisco, you got routers, you got to learn these things, even just learning IP, right? TCP/IP and stuff. How are you?
Yeah, how are you gonna do it if
How are
you-
you going to do it if it's not hands-on?
Right.
And especially at that time when no one has experience.
So roll us forward now. So, so you got Waimanalo Blooms.
Right.
So.
Which is my consulting company.
Which is your
so-
consulting
And I live in
company.
Waimanalo.
And I was gonna say, so I wonder if you live in Waimanalo.
Yeah.
So.
25 years.
Yeah. Waimanalo Blooms based out of Waianae.
Yeah.
So, well, the Waimanalo landfill
Yeah.
is
It's in Waianae, yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
Kapolei, just outside of
So, yeah.
Kapolei.
Yeah.
And that's how they slid that one under the radar screen.
They just named
Everybody
it.
out in Waianae thought it was gonna go in Waimanalo. And they turned around, it was in the Waimanalo Valley, which
Wow.
is right by the Kahi power
Right.
plant.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
a whole other set of stories on that
That's
one.
an interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Waimanalo Blooms is your consulting company.
Right.
You're still doing some work with Microsoft.
Oh, yeah, do a lot of, I mean, obviously, so my background is that, and again, because the federal government, DOD, and obviously on Oahu, but I do work worldwide. Most of my clients are in DC. I have a couple clients here as well. But with the federal government and with DOD in particular, they're still, they've been Microsoft for, 25 years,
Right,
since the NT
right.
Exchange days. Before that, it was Beyond Mail and Banyan Vines, or it was NetWare and GroupWise, but that was
Wow.
back into. So I spent a little time in that area, but as soon as Microsoft came in, and we would actually turn almost all the large Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and the joint headquarters in Hawaii, all to NT and Exchange. So I was involved in all that.
You're like
and
a
all those
history. You're like a
migrations.
history lesson here.
Yeah.
It's kinda like
Well,
So I was
he
involved in
remembered-
all those
they're going to
migrations.
stuff you and put you in the Smithsonian. You're going to be right there. No, there's Jeff Bloom, and there he'll tell you all the.
No, maybe in
different
Waimanalo, maybe. Bury me in my backyard.
things with one of your horses.
Yeah. But anyway, so all those things happen. So yeah, so Microsoft still is predominant, and even to the cloud pieces today when you look at O365. But even the stuff we were talking earlier about Amazon, I work right now a lot with AWS, which is Amazon Web Services.
Right.
They are doing all the cloud migrations right now because they were the first ones to get certified. Microsoft still is not certified for DoD, for Department of Defense. They are certified on FedRAMP for the rest of the federal government, but not for DoD because of their stringent requirements. Only AWS right now. There's a couple interim clearances that have. Microsoft just got some, but it's still not there yet. So AWS is running people in production. If you go to a lot of Navy sites and other ones that are there, Army sites that are in the cloud,
Right.
they are
Yeah,
all
Amazon
at
Web
Amazon
Service.
Web Services,
Right.
and there's a whole formula. So I've been working on that for over 2.5 years now with the Navy, with SPAWAR, with the, well, it was the
SAIC?
Well, the CIO of the Navy then became Terry Halverson, then became the CIO of OSD, the Office of Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
So he's the CIO for all of the Department of Defense now. Before that, he was only the CIO for the Navy and Marine Corps. And his vision to go to cloud and go to commercial cloud was then taken to OSD. So now there's even a bigger push in this last year. He's got policies and things. When he moved under, when Ash Carter was just confirmed about 6 months ago as the Secretary of Defense, all this happened. So there's a big push into cloud for the Department of Defense.
So this begs the question with the recent hacks at the federal government, right?
Right.
Which
Yeah, OMB.
but that wasn't in cloud. That was on their.
Yeah,
That was
that was
on-
internal
that was
That was
production,
internal
yeah.
on-prem. So
Well, but
so
still-
where do you think it's heading? I mean, is
Well,
there
it-
is the
again-
writing on the wall?
It goes, so I'm involved in a couple pieces. One right now, I just had a guy out here for Shaka Khan that I brought up from DC who spoke, well, speaking at Black Hat and DevCon as well in Vegas, and we just spoke here, and also visiting with a bunch of DoD customers here. He works for a lot of DoD customers, big customers in DC. One of the issues is it's not so much the spear phishing and people getting in. It's once they get into your network, you can spear phish and get in because of social, I'll send an email says, here
Yep.
it is, and I'm your uncle, and I got this thing, and
Right,
you click
right.
here,
We
whatever.
see it all the time.
And
Oh,
people,
yeah.
right. But it's what happens after they get in. So he works with what's called the blue teams and the red teams, done all the research of how they're actually gotten in. Once they get in, and somebody in the, on a computer somewhere on an enterprise clicks that button and says, okay,
Yep.
it goes to this
It
link.
loads that malware.
Okay.
Yep.
Now the malware's there. What do they do once they get in? And it's all Active Directory related, or
Yep.
most
Yeah.
of it is. And
Right.
that's where they get the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, they
So
got to
that's where
elevate their
we're looking at
privileges
that.
as quickly as they can.
Well, no,
right?
but if you logged in this machine as a as a system admin, even though it's a desktop machine, they can come right, that's what he was talking about when he was here,
Yeah.
and that's what we look at now. So again, in DoD, it's not just cloud, it's how do you take it all the way to peripheral to harden it. But also, if you don't understand where your weaknesses are, it's the old adage of years ago, okay, you lock the front door, you got a deadbolt, this triple deadbolt, you got all this stuff, but you got jalousies over here, or the back door is a screen door with a little tiny
little
We
lock,
still
right,
see a lot of that.
Right. And,
That's
right,
my world.
Right. So, I mean, if you don't even know where your vulnerabilities are and you think you're preparing yourself, so, oh, now we got all the spam filters and all the other stuff, and we're getting all the malware, and we got all this stuff, and we've got all the other hardware that's catching things off the routers. Once they're in, and this guy who's been researching this for a number of 3-character agencies, we call them in DC, for the last year and a half.
Yeah, some
We
start
won't
with
say
letter
who they are.
F,
Yeah,
some start with letter
C,
C,
some with
yeah.
letter D,
Yeah,
right? That's what he's been researching. A lot of it's all Active Directory. He's only one of 100 people in the world who have are a master in Active Directory. But he's been
Our guys
spending
were
time.
super impressed with him.
But he only did an hour at
Yeah.
Shaka Khan, so he's coming back for at least two day seminars that we'll do in October because there's so much demand, and then the assessments that even the DoD customers want, because same thing, unless you hire someone who's a security professional, they're going to tell you where some of that is, and he's one of the few people, and that's why he travels a lot in DoD in those circles to do that, because it's like, tell me where to look. If you don't even know where to look, and you're hardening, like say the front door, and all the bad guys are coming through the back door,
because they're in.
jealousy, and they're already in.
That's the problem,
And once
they're in already,
Right. Once they're in, you don't even see them. They might not do anything for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they start stealing. I mean, the OPM, the Office of Personnel Management,
Right.
started 4 million people, government people. They're up to 21 million people,
now.
including anybody who ever got a security clearance from the
Yep,
federal
I
government,
told
including people
you,
like me.
you're
In the
done.
last
Me,
10
you,
years,
you're done.
right?
It's-
Anyone who has
yeah.
We're all
security
done.
clearance,
Yeah.
all have their information. They haven't told us yet, but
Yeah.
they've told it in
They're gonna-
Congress.
they're gonna let us
Yeah,
know.
I've already
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah.
You haven't got your letter yet.
Yeah,
but
they'll
it's-
start filing,
Yeah.
Well, they tried to send people emails.
Only
First.
the four- only
No,
the
yeah,
the
4
4
million
million.
people who were government
It's like-
employees.
they're like,
They're going to
what
file
is this?
false tax
Not-
returns.
Not the other 18 million.
They're gonna do
you
that,
know,
yeah.
Haven't got the letter yet, but they've said anybody who had a security clearance in the last 10 years, secret, top secret, poly, whatever.
Well, I haven't had one
anything.
since '93.
Well, I think it's
Well,
at least 10 years
Yeah,
or more.
you're done.
You're in there.
Yeah,
You're
no,
hosed.
dream on, little
Yeah.
dreamer. Yeah, Mr. Guy who's the security
hosed.
guy, so it's gonna happen.
Yeah, don't-
So,
I'm hacked.
are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? We have burned another lunch hour.
That
We have
fast?
gone through,
Yeah, well, that's
you got to learn to be a little bit more excited. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just too.
Hey.
Jeff needs a couple
Can
hours.
we pick a guest that's not so, calm? So I'm exhausted, by the way. You just wore me out. We got a great history lesson on everything that was happening here. Now, we make sure that our guests do not leave rewarded. So
Wow.
you get this beautiful autographed solo cup from
Thank you.
from Hibachi Talk. So
Okay.
don't ever lose that.
There's
one.
only 26, 27 of them in
Yeah,
the
there's
world
only
now?
27. This is 27 of 27.
And it's numbered on the bottom.
Yeah, right. We should start doing that. So anyways, it's been great, Jeff, having you around
Thank you.
and you giving us a
Thanks,
history
Blom.
lesson. And I'm proud to know you. I'm proud of what you've been able to do in this community, and you've done a lot. You've employed a lot of people and helped
It
Hawaii.
sounds like you
come
trained them
forward.
all.
You trained them
Kids.
all.
10,000
No,
of
but
them.
it's the kids that I'm worried about. I have grandkids. My grandson's now telling me about college. He's going to be a junior in high school this coming year.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I worry about when I had my kids.
Yeah.
Now I'm worried about my grandkids
Okay.
and what their
Okay.
future looks like in Hawaii.
All right, well, we'll talk. We'll have your grandkids on here
Yeah.
with my great-grandson who was
Oh,
born
okay.
last week, by the way. So Cruz is his name. Anyway, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Hey, Beth, thanks so much. We loved your interaction. It certainly added another aspect to the show. We hope to have you following us for a number of years. And once again, for everybody for joining us, we thank you. Follow us on hibachitalk.com. Follow us on Twitter, as Beth did. Follow us on Facebook. And we want to say one last thing to everybody doing there. How you doing?